trying to have his wing gets home. So, yeah, today's video we get to go over the State of the Union address by Trump. Because America still has not yet fallen. The Ku Code Klan for the Ku Code coup has not happened yet. You can put C's or K's, it's pronounced with K's. Just like the Utah business. Covering it up with just K and K, but their logo is a K right before the title of the company. So it's KK and K. There are several of them, but only that one has the K as the logo. Dear God, people think they're so funny, being evil. So, yeah, despite Trump's pivot, oh, he set up the Democrats big time, and they fell right into it. Oh, it was humiliating. But before we get to that, before we get to the coup code, I don't have it in front of me. Coup Code Klan. Elijah. The moon today will be at the star El Nath. China got it right because they're using Arabic and smart on this. So China, older than Islam, refers to it as the fifth chariot. I've already known from Egyptian that the Apis bull of Taurus is for the transfer of authority from the king who's dying and giving up the throne to his son, the birthright blessing, firstborn. So I already know about this meaning for the signs in the heavens from Revelation, Joseph Smith translation, chapter 12, verses 1 and 7. Well on top of this, this is my field of expertise. Unlike the other Mormon. Oh, dear God. Almost as funny was another guy's comment about how the Epstein files are proof that conspiracy theories are true. When you start with stupid beliefs, you end with stupid humor. Conspiracy theories are supposed to be designed with Socratic methodology in the development of the theory to run the test for confirmation. Oh my hell. So, that obviously subconsciously triggered in my brain the transfer of mantle titles from Elijah to Elishua, the actual person who appeared in the Kirtland Temple, spelled wrong as Elias, which is the Greek form of Elijah in Hebrew. And so everybody criticizes, they couldn't get it right. They don't know translation. Well, what is the key of Elias? And so you go to Abraham, Gospel of Abraham, then the book of Abraham says it's the gospel of salvation. Salvation in Hebrew is Shua, so the God of Shua, Elishua. Oh my hell, how complicated could that be? And so yes, Jesus. This is another sighting of Jesus in literal history, Constantine Christianity. So Elijah and Jesus, the same who appeared to Joseph Smith. Oh, you thought it was Jehovah, did you? But wait, the God Yah is also Jesus. You're mocking us, Travis. Yeah, well, if you're going to be stupid, to the illiterate Jesus, or is it the illiterate leaders of the church? Which one is it? Because I'm confused. Because if it's the leaders who are illiterate, what does that say about Jesus? They can't be taught. But if it's Jesus who's illiterate, why are they quoting Jesus, knowing that they're not illiterate and that Jesus is illiterate, to correct him, as written in the New Hotness Gospels? He got it right there. So there's a lot of confusion going on. Who's illiterate? It would help if you knew translation. And yes, there's another Mormon who's telling funny jokes on his website, who says, about me, I have a degree in translation and have worked on various translation projects in the military for the past 16 years. And this was way back in 2010. July 5th was the post, on Monday, on the topic of gates and the divine council in the Book of Mormon. And oh, the Salt Lake Temple door with the inverted pentagram. And he's an expert in translation? He's the best and brightest in our military? Oh dear God, Trump! We've got a problem! But this was also funny. A person who's not an expert in translation, who goes over the symbol of the inverted pentagram on the Nauvoo temple, and then says this symbol is found throughout Temple Square in various forms. No, just the one. But he keeps going. An upright pentagram represents the 5 elements. This is not an upright pentagram. It's inverted. Protection from evil spirits. So the church's inverted pentagram is an inviting of evil spirits. Hello, McFly. And it's a personification. Then he goes over Eliphas Levi's depiction of the upright and inverted pentagram. Contrary to popular belief, Levi did not invent the use of the inverted pentagram. No, the Egyptians did. It represents a falling star. Thus the Latin, or the Isaiah passage, "How art thou fallen from heaven, son of the morning." And it's a different word than in the Latin Vulgate, which used Lucifer for the light bearer, the son of Mars and Venus. Oh, dear God. Everybody thinks they're an expert. And the sad reality is that they get popular, I don't. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is proof that conspiracy theories fail because stupid people reign supreme. God, just unbelievable. So after the Latin Vulgate, Satan worship then utilized that, and thus the inverted pentagram for their symbol. It's just a Roman ritual. I'm just an ignoramus, and everywhere I go, I see dumb people around me. Faces of shame. Van Halen, technically it was his branch off. Anyway, 2 Kings chapter 2. You have Elijah, who took his mantle, wrapped it together, smote the waters, and the waters parted. Ooh, just like that Moses guy. The Jewish Christ. For the latter days, not Jesus. In case you missed that video yesterday, or any of my other 10.2K videos. And so then he is gone. But Elijah said unto Elishua, because it's not even correctly translated in King James Version, because the Hebrew has the ayin for the shua. In case you know anything about the basic incorrect Hebrew. Not the Paleo Hebrew of origin, which is the universal symbol of the sun. And so, double portion of thy spirit be upon me. So you'll occasionally hear this in conference talks about double portion of the spirit. Or a portion of thy spirit, or variations of it. To God. First you need to understand before you can speak. Especially if you're doing YouTube videos where you're popular because Max C won't shut your channel down. And so it came to pass as they still went on and talked that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and was a sensitive snowflake, and cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes, and rent them into pieces, a double portion. And he took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood at the bank of Jordan. Ooh, the Jordan River? Just over Jordan. Yeah, you didn't know that? See, somebody knows, and they're not wanting to tell us. The Lion House next to the Beehive House, at the temple for weddings. Samson. There's some weird things going on here, and people aren't telling us. Maybe the god Dan can tell us, from Amos chapter 8, verse 14, of the Danites. I don't know. So they know they're evil. They just lie. And so then he smites the water and parts them in exactly the same manner. So this is not literal history. Remember, Roman Emperor Constantine, with the first creed of Christianity, made everything literal history, denying science, rewriting science, or rewriting history, negating history. And 4 billion people in the world today still believe that big lie. So no, this is about transfer of authority. And it's today with the moon for religion, where the sun is at the thigh of the high priest symbol. So now that Anderson is back, are you going to have the meeting today? Are you going to discuss it with him and have a vote? You going to hand over this church? Or is your illiteracy causing you to make errors in judgment? So, spent an hour and a half an hour, making a new file for the coup plot. Coup code conspiracy? Ooh. There we go. That one works. And it is written down so I can reference it. So I'll have to briefly go over this. Briefly. God, I probably should do that too. I will hate you. Just do it. Third, 8, 5, 7. There we go. So we go back in time. So I'm just going to look over at the pictures that I put in, and they're all out of order because of the titles. May 1st, 1776. Johann Adam Weishaupt created the Illuminati, the light bearers of Lucifer. The bearers of light. Right, Uchtdorf? And then you did it again. I mean, this made it so easy for me. It's a sign in the heavens. I'm trying to teach people. They don't understand, so I have another example for them, and they still don't understand. Can you just come out with a first presidency statement? We are the church of the devil. Declare everything up. Because Mormons are not getting it. But Jesus... How is Lucifer Jesus? I thought they were just brothers, but I'm confused. Yeah, keep a people stupid and you can control them easier. Evil people have known this for millennia. So, his tactic: infiltrate an organization. There are lots of organizations, especially as you go around the world. So you infiltrate an organization, you join up, then you rise up in number by recruiting for that organization. You rise up in power, you take over leadership, you destroy it. New World Order for that organization. And then with the destruction, you got those who branch out to other orders. And so on, and so on, and so on. So that there might be somebody left behind if they rebuild the order. Only to be infiltrated again in the future for that same thing. If it's not being controlled at that point by one of the order. And so, in July 4th, 1776, the United States of America is born with the Declaration of Independence. And at that point, we became a target for destruction. The enemy drooled to conquer us. And so, the Illuminati had made initial attempts. One was in 1800. Was it F. Scott Fitzgerald, whose volumes of books, one of the volumes recorded it? There's a Scott in his name, whoever it is. If Fitzgerald is the guy in the 1900s, then it's obviously not him. But whatever. There's a Scott who wrote volumes of books, and in one of the volumes, this is what my associative memory is bringing to mind. I don't memorize. I have to have things written down for reference. See, my mom, it took her forever to figure out. Mom, how do you spell this? Mom, how do you spell this? How do you spell this? How do you spell that? Here's a dictionary. Here's your birthday gift. Here's your Christmas gift. A dictionary. Exactly. need references. And so, yes, my mom then would also get the encyclopedia collection that was going around back in those days, selling door to door. So my mom knew of the value of an encyclopedia. So, yes, reference. I quickly learned that the textbook that we were given in school, read by females. See, the world has already been giving women equal authority with men to read from a textbook. But Oakes, he made sure to tell us that it was him who allowed women in the church to equally read from a manual like a man. Never sexist whatsoever. Don't you feel special, women? Feel special. Feel special. Or you've got the wrong feeling. Turn that frown upside down. It's just not fair. Women are cute whether they're frowning or smiling. They're about to devour you with their fury, and you're going, oh, I'm so in love. It's just not fair. And so, the one that was the major issue in American history was the War of 1812, where Canada, according to Trump, burned down the White House. And we've been fighting them with hockey events ever since. And William Morgan, during that war, as he was in there fighting it with the general who would become president, Andrew Jackson, and so people vilify him, and you shouldn't, because his shutting down of the central bank goes back to the War of 1812 when Congress shut down the central bank. And that's why the war. The Brits were not happy that their central bank was shut down by the new Congress of America. And so, funded by Nathaniel Rothschild, they came to America to destroy it and restore the central bank. And they did. Thus ended the war. And so Andrew Jackson, being president, finally in his second term shut it down. And then the enemy vilified him, not letting Americans know the real American history in classes. See, my American history in high school was taught by a Vietnam protester who was so pissed with America that he refused to teach American history to us. He just sat at his desk, legs up on the table, had a movie playing, while Tony LaBrosse and I were going over Caddyshack quotes. It's a Cinderella story. 300 yards. Oh, it's a beautiful hit. It's a beautiful hit. Fast times at Norco High. So I had to learn this outside of history class. But I got an A. And isn't that what matters? So William Morgan was there in the war and found out all about the plot. It was graphically detailed. And so he needed to figure out a way to get this published, to get it out there, to warn America of this plot that is going to take place in the future, using the Bible to coordinate their attack. You know, Revelation chapter 12. Everybody knows the date. And so he came to Western New York. There was a David Miller working for the Batavian Press who agreed to front him the money to work on the book, for which he would then publish it. He got himself a home for his wife and children there in Batavia, but to separate himself from the print press and his family, he had to find another Yorkite lodge to work on the book with. And he found one in Canandaigua, New York, Ontario, number 23. The master mason is Joseph Smith, Sr. Despite the church's efforts to revise history, negate it, that is the facts. Joseph Smith Sr. was also a Jewish Kabbalist from the New Israelites in Vermont. He was not a member, but he attended their meetings as often as occasion would permit. So he knows about the wood scrape. And despite the wood scrape, he is brilliant in the rewritten 116 pages. Junior. And thus Revelation chapter 12, the additions in the Joseph Smith translation. He knows all about this stuff and is teaching it to Junior with Sidney Rigdon, who's getting paid for his work on the Book of Mormon. Because, yep, 9/11/1826, William Morgan is busted. He's exposed, and they're trying to shut him up by indefinitely incarcerating him in a deep site location. Sound familiar? Oaks, D-Dodd, and all the band who's left. Who is left? Who is left? So we have Dallas, Irene, Uchtdorf, Bednar, Cook, Christofferson, and Anderson. The final 7. And a MAGA elephant never forgets. We're getting to it. We're getting to it. And so, yes, the book on Masonry by William Morgan, Illustrations of Masonry, was not by William Morgan. That was not the book he was working on. He didn't finish it. There's only 116 pages. We know this because Illustrations of Masonry has printed pages, not the title page or any of that, the printed text. 116. Amazing. Gather all the evidence, look for patterns, identify anomalies, use Socratic methodology in the development of a theory, then run the test. It's in the Old and Busted Gospel as well as the New Hotness Gospel. Plagiarized. Jesus knows how to plagiarize until he speaks into the brains of the living prophets of Jesus. And somehow there's a miscommunication. Who's illiterate? Inquiring minds want to know. So, Joseph Smith Sr. rescues William Morgan, gets him out of the country, and then I've told you the long history or the story of what happened to him. Became a banana plantation owner down in Honduras, I think. If I'm getting the right country. But yeah, wild Mr. Toad's ride. Storms sunk his ship twice. Nonetheless, how do I know this? Nobody else knows or is telling us. Yeah, well, he had children through this other family that he had in the islands. And one of his descendants said it. So I confirmed, and it is so true. And so, yes, the membership records. Kind of vital when you read over Heber C. Kimball's Masonry. Liar! But in the lie reveals the truth. And yes, Joseph Smith Sr. wrote the 116 pages of Illustrations of Masonry. The nom de plume, William Morgan. And sent the manuscripts on to Sidney Rigdon with Oliver Cowdery to help as scribe, so that Sidney Rigdon with his library, that's where the Solomon Spaulding manuscript comes from, and all of the other plagiarisms in the Book of Mormon, including the late War of Napoleon from 1812. There's a reason why it was plagiarized, and you just stopped at, oh, plagiarized. Church is false. Oops. Keep going. You don't know the truth yet. Everybody thinks they're an expert, and then they get popular, spreading the lie around, and the church laughs at you for your spreading of the lie, because the church can just default to religious freedom. It's spiritual. That's why we don't follow the word. And we make up our own words. So yeah, 116 pages with Martin Harris, enemy, evil man. Because Martin Harris was on the Council of Anti-Masons in Palmyra. So even though it was over a year since the incident, it was still fresh on the minds of the people, because the whole United States at the time, with the reporter who reported on the disappearance and not knowing of the bigger picture, caused a fear and panic among the people that we were being invaded by Freemasons. It was the Scottish Rites, not the York Rites. York Rites saved America, but he can't tell anybody because the enemy Scottish Rites, because they were infiltrated, remember the pattern, keep up, were the enemy and were the threat. But that's what they do. They, like cockroaches, go into hiding. And so the Americans burned down almost every single Freemasonic temple. He saved America by sacrificing the York Rites. And so that was still fresh on the mind, as now a political party is organized to prevent Freemasonry, and committees in every single town were formed, and Palmyra had Martin Harris as a member. And so when they come out with the original Book of Mormon in the 116 pages of William Morgan, he was getting a little suspicious. And that's why he wasn't quite falling for the con of Junior with his rock and a hat. And yes, that's why he stole the documents. And so that's why Junior was put on timeout for a whole year. And so in the Doctrine and Covenants, you see that in February the next year, a marvelous work and a wonder is about to come forth among the children of men. And Junior would still have several more months of being on timeout. Section 10 is not 1828, it's 1829, Bruce. Typing error, right? Just an oopsie? You didn't do it on purpose, did you, to fool Mormons into thinking Joseph Smith resumed translation when he had nothing to do with the composition of the Book of Mormon? He was the babysitter for the money man who was going to pay for the book, who insisted on being a part of it. Can't you just give us the money and we'll let you know when it's done? No! And thus the Book of Mormon and the church begins. 1832 April, Brigham Young and Heber C. Kimball join. Remember that masonry thing on Heber C. Kimball? Yeah, they're not joining because the Book of Mormon is so true. They found out who it is, and that's why they're joining. And like the Illuminati that they are, from the Scottish Rites, they joined to infiltrate, rise up in number, with missionary work. Their first missionary assignment was to those disgruntled Scottish Rites Illuminati. Brought them into the church. Here's our plot. And they rose up in rank, took over leadership, code, destroyed. New World Order. Ooh, but wait, Joseph Smith got out of Liberty Jail. So they did it again. Carthage Jail. There we go. Exactamundo. So the whole Kirtland apostasy was a result of these evil, disposed, and designing militant persons of Joseph Smith's 1838 first vision, verse 1. And if you bothered to check the Joseph Smith papers, that's the wrong name of the church. That's the coup name. And so thus, Willard Richards, who wrote in Jesus, is the very evil disposed and designing militant persons of Brigham Young. Oh, he's also the one who is the only one, along with John Taylor, in the room with Joseph and Hiram when they were shot. Is it starting to come together, or are you still going to deny the truth, Mormons? Because we're still getting started. We're 46 minutes into the video, and we're still in the 1800s. I told you this was going to be a summary. I warned. So yes, their whole missionary operation was to lie about Joseph Smith, the Book of Mormon, and the church. Converting people to Christianity and not the pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptians that the Book of Mormon says we are. House of Israel. New Israelites. And so thus the Kirtland apostasy was because of the Danites sabotaging Joseph Smith. Kirtland Safety Society, the Danites took out loans and refused to pay them back. So when Joseph gets the temple in Kirtland built, calls a similitude exodus to Kirtland. Because the whole latter days is about the latter days and the exodus to Zion, the New Jerusalem. So Joseph Smith is trying to teach Mormons and prepare Mormons for that coming, as well as the enemy, who's also using that same time framing to destroy America and ultimately the entire world. And so these Christians, oh, okay, yeah, we'll come to Kirtland, sure, whatever. And they get there, and Book of Mormon, this isn't Christian. A prophet, seer, revelator, translator, that's not Christian. A temple, that's not Christian. Exactly, they were furious. And the name of the church now was the Church of the Latter-day Saints. Oh my God, that's not Christian. And so they rose up in fury. We've been lied to. And they created the Old Standard Church of Christ, the Christian title that they thought they were joining. Why Mormons can't put 2 and 2 together and come up with 15 for the law of synergy, I don't know. I've had fun with that ever since I learned it in grade school. So 2 plus 2 can equal 5. Cool. And nobody likes my humor. And so Sidney Rigdon and Joseph have to flee Kirtland because they're on a murder spree. They're going to burn them on crosses. They're going to hang them next to Mike Pence. And so, who's left but the Danites in Kirtland? And so, because the old standard is still there and still hate the church, the Danites are so clever, take the Mormons to Missouri under the guise of joining with Joseph. But they've got a secret plan for Missouri now. Phase 2 of their operation. And this phase 2 involved election fraud. Your Honor, I hope you can find 3,000 votes. Yep. And all your great classic Mormons are there at the event. Senator Lee's third grade grandfather, Mr. Snuff Raper, or shall we say Brother Snuff Raper, of little girls and women. Curtis, his third great grandfather was there. Stuart, his third great grandfather was the one who got punched first and knocked to the ground. And I'm sure Cox is there if I checked over those, because that was the whole point, was that this first call was to those who were the Danites, who were wrongly converting people to the wrong church. They were the ones who attended. And so yes, that's why when I do my church history videos on a specific Mormon from the 1800s, I always demonstrate for you how are they tied to the Danites. That is how you will know them and know correctly their history. So, genealogy, are you doing it? Your Danite history. How are you a Danite, brothers and sisters? In today's class, and apparently the church's app about who's related to who, assuming you're all in the file, is the same thing that they're waiting for Nancy Guthrie for the genealogy DNA thing. It's the same type of situation, but assumes that it has to be connected to genealogy and blah, 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 blah. I told you she's just down the block. Mormon rap, do the Mormon rap. Temple. But if the sheriff is a Mormon, we're all doomed. It's just sad. She's not sleeping, Savannah. She's not sleeping. She's not eating well. She's crying all the time. Just sad. They can't investigate properly. They won't listen to me. I told them several times over, I'm not interested in Savannah's money for the reward. Just get her. She's just right there. They won't listen to me. They don't know how to investigate. God. Anyway. And so, yeah. They caused the election fraud. They're running a test run for what they're plotting to do in the future. So everything they did is an exact same pattern match. So economic troubles, election fraud, the destruction company, burning, murder, rape, theft. Thomas B. Marsh then tells us what they did after the election fraud. They then went and claimed, "We're the victims. We're under attack. Join us or die," Joseph Smith said. And so, top leadership are chased out of the church and Missouri. Thomas B. Marsh is in leadership. Remember this whole Illuminati plot? It's in action right now, right then. Got prophetic tense. And so Thomas B. Marsh's affidavit to the governor of Missouri outlines the whole plot that is to be used in the latter days. But instead of Joseph being framed and blamed, they're going to frame and blame Jesus. Because they tell him they're doing it. They're the ones who forged documents later on that are now in our Doctrine and Covenants, claiming to be by Joseph. Oh, look, 1838, huh? Ooh, you kept a journal written 40 years later, merged it with some of those original fading ink 1838 documents, and you put them out of order because there's an 1837 after 1838. Oops. But yep, section 115, forged documents. Section 116, forged documents. Section 117, forged documents. Section 118, forged documents. Section 119, forged document. That was put in 1844's Doctrine and Covenants. Section 124 and 28, forged documents. And section 132, forged document. 1843? No. They also kept a little black book of Epstein files with the clerk as Senator Lee's third great-grandfather, John D. Lee. When the Nauvoo Temple is built in December 1846, almost 2 years after Joseph is dead, and began sealing women in December, or actually they were endowed in December, and then in January they began the sealings of those women to the dead Joseph Smith by proxy. Joseph was never sealed to any of them. They lied. And all ex-foe nevermos keep spreading the lies. Right, Alyssa Grenfell? Despite your pretty chart of all of the wives Joseph was married to? Wrong. I've got the primary source document, not people's feelings who were threatened by Brigham Young to record them in their journals. Remember death penalties? I know you know, Alyssa. Because you did that cute little dress-up video. For which I made a pretty picture. Come on, girl. Millions of views and you're lying? No wonder Max C doesn't even bother with you. So yes, the Nauvoo Temple. I'm horrified. The church claimed, oh, we did it exactly according to the blueprints. They've got the blueprints. I don't see inverted pentagrams on here. I'm looking. I don't even see sunstones. I don't see sunstones. I don't see inverted pentagrams. Nowhere. Nothing. And yet, when was it dedicated, Mormons? Are you smart enough to win on Jeopardy for Mormonism? Mormon Jeopardy. Can you win? Here's the question. Or do you answer with a question? I didn't care. It was stupid. It involves memorizing, not associative memory. I need references. And so I didn't care about it. But yeah. May 1st, 1846. The 70th anniversary of the Illuminati. With the inverted pentagrams that were not supposed to be on there. All around. The flaming fire of Jesus for his Armageddon attack. That's why they burn things. It's code. The coup code conspiracy. Wish I knew what the other word was. So yeah. And because of being able to finally assassinate Joseph Smith, they then had no more use for their plot to get Joseph Smith into the presidency of the United States of America for that election. He's dead. So the other branch off from 9/11/1826 went down to the South to become the Confederates with the burning flag of Jesus for the calendar date and clock time, day and the hour of Revelation chapter 12, technically 19, verses 11 and 17, plus that lamb guy. Yeah, they know the dates. And I am horrified that nobody came out with a YouTube video other than me for Revelation 19. But eventually, after I did the videos and the pretty pictures, other people then stole it from me. And did inaccurate, incomplete pictures. As there were those who found out that the first solar eclipse had the 7 Salems, and then Nineveh, and the final one. You're not getting it. You can't pick and choose what evidence you want to include in your investigation. You gotta get them all. Get it all. Otherwise, you're going to claim to be an expert in translation and botch it. Stupid. And so, I've been showing you pretty pictures of the White House being burned in 1812, or that's 1814, I think. And then the law that was passed, I think 1887, for the America to become a business, as well as the street map design, which, oh, an inverted pentagram. Oh, it's pointing right to the White House. Yeah, for the latter days, the coup plot. And so, yes, that's why Brigham Young had his Nauvoo temple burned after he fled the country. All part and parcel. And so, yes, John Taylor's dream, recorded by Willard Richards, and Heber C. Kimball's attest. The Salt Lake Temple is also supposed to be destroyed and burned. Despite the church leading you to believe that this is Zion, and all is well in Zion, we're at peace, safety, and refuge, while the rest of the world live in sin and apostasy and porn. Because we aren't translators to know the correct translation of porn, which is prostituting women in the temple with tithing. And yet, I think they do know. They're just playing dumb to the rest of you. I don't know. If illiterate Jesus would ever show up so that we can ask him, we can finally answer some of these questions. Finally answer them. And so, yeah, Brigham Young also exposed that Joseph never named his church the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because he secretly incorporated the name of the church. For the handcart companies who would soon arrive in the valley. Because his whole initial plan of fleeing the country to this valley was to create a whole Desnat nation. It's right there in the name, and nobody caught on that it's a coup. Deseret, kingdom. He was king. And so it was just his loyalists, the Danites, who had served faithfully in overthrowing Joseph Smith. Had nothing to do with the Book of Mormon and the religion or any of that crap. They fled the country with their spoils and left Emma with the bill. And so the Confederates are forming for the backup plan now that Joseph has been murdered, so that they can assassinate Abraham Lincoln for the Civil War. A test run. Their Confederate flag is the Revelation 19. The location as well as the day and hour, with inverted pentagrams when you get the lines parallel or perpendicular, not the cross. See, even Christians know that it's a chi with the rho of Constantine, and yet Christians dominate merchandising with a T. Even their own illiteracy is illiterate. What was a pull for the Romans was turned into the Cairo, because the Jewish authors wrote it as a Cairo, because they're giving you the day and the hour. But to cover up the day and the hour from the Christians, because Constantine gave the day and the hour, they turned it into a T as part of literal history. And so it was extremely hard to find my Jesus on a Chi cross. Very complicated. The stress and the struggle I go through. My struggle. Yep. Because now you've got them separated. Brigham Young takes the Danites to this valley. The Confederates are in the south. The Confederates become the KKK after the Civil War because one of the leaders of the Confederates started the KKK. That's what they do, remember? And so, yes, this is where Trump fits in with Daddy getting arrested at a march in Queens, tied directly to the KKK. And so Trump's fascination with the letters of Hitler, or the writings of Hitler, whatever it was at his bedside that the roommate said he had, even though Trump's illiterate and paid other people to take his tests for him, and then claimed he had bone spurs to not go to war. And his birth certificate's from Kenya. I have that birth certificate, Trump. You know it's true. It's just buried in the files. Oh, Photoshop. Always good for a laugh. And so the KKK was the Democrat Party. Because, remember the Illuminati tactic? Infiltrate, rise up in number, rise up in rank, take over leadership. Democrats. The Democrat KKK Party. Before World War II. So then you got Albert Pike from the late 1800s in his letter to Giuseppe Mazzini outlining the plot of the 3 world wars. And the final one. He just doesn't give you the calendar dates and clock times for those final wars. For the final one especially. And so the previous 2 wars were test runs by this enemy who had spread out throughout the world. Russia has the seal with the Scottish Rites 2 eagles. Infiltrated. And so not only did the Scottish Rites in America branch off to become the Confederates and the Danites, they also took off back over to Prussia, was it? Whatever, and eventually would form the country of Russia with that seal on purpose. All of this is part of the coup plot to destroy the world. Because they don't believe that a human can be prophesied to come in the future and fulfill all of the thousands of prophecies exactly as prophesied, assuming you get the interpretation correct. Oh, right, Leahy. Gotta include him in here. Left behind. So that new pretty picture needs to also be put into this new file. Paste. Okay, then also we need this one, the Council for National Policy. Okay. It's been a while, Mr. Toad's 10.2K video ride. We're Still not done yet. Urgh. Ran attack. Oh, of course. Oh my god. And so, yeah, World War II, the KKK supported Nazi Germany. That's why we were slow to get involved. It was not until our financial economy was jeopardized that we then said, all right, that's enough. You've had your fun. We've run the test run. We're going in to get Maduro in Nazi Germany. And yeah, history. As everybody denies the history that of the psychological, physical torture to the Jews, who then came over to the United States of America. Which, yeah. I guess I don't have it in this file. Oaks. Salud. I didn't name it with the pretty picture. So it might be still in this one. Or not. There you are. Family Services has the test run of assassinating John F. Kennedy, President of the United States of America. Also as a part of all this coup plot. Test runs, remember? And it was after World War II that America gave asylum to these torturers of the Jews using vehicles to gas the Jews while they're upstairs in their apartment having lunch and watching TV. And I had to be the one to tell Sim Gill to sue him? And so, yeah, they're sent to Utah specifically. The church, bring them to Utah. We'll do the same human experimentations on Mormons. And thus, Oaks. Did you not know this, Oaks? Do you not understand that this is why you have tardive dyskinesia? And why your mommy was sent to an asylum? When Kennedy would later on say, no, bad asylums. And then he would be assassinated. And Utah, since Kennedy's assassinated, but the law is still on the books, pretended to obey by turning the name of asylum into hospital. And psychologists who get a PhD are called doctors. They love to play the name game. and thus their name-calling, bullying to diagnose you with. You're mentally retarded. Which mental retardation are you? Take this spectrum disorder test. Yeah, that was part of the coup of the 2016 presidential election. Steve Bannon, Cambridge Analytica. Which Disney princess are you? Take our test and find out, and then we'll sell your data to Russia through, I had his name and then I lost it. But Steve Bannon through the other, Paul Manafort, to Russia. And then Russia sent back commercial advertising on Facebook. I'd rather be Russian than vote Democrat. And they made t-shirts, big merchandising opportunity. And then for the Democrats, they got the commercials of, your vote is going to be stolen. Call this number immediately to secure your vote. Election coup. And a major city yet to be determined in Russia. Remember, the church is a part of all this. And so, yes, the McCarthy hearings, the Red Scare after World War II, flipped the platform scripts on the parties. The KKK Dems now became the Commie Dems. And the GOP good old boys elephants became the new Nazi party. Because McCarthy was only against communism, wanting to restore in America Nazism. And so the church came out and says, we're no commies. We never supported communism in World War II. We supported Hitler, Moroni, and the swastika. And then you've got the naked communist, who would then become a part of, is it Timothy Leahy, that I just did the video of the other day? Yeah, Tim Leahy. Left Behind, Armageddon. And then he forms this secret conspiracy, the Council for National Policy, in which Steve Bannon's in it, and until after the election, and then the 2018 membership, he's no longer in it because of the scandal with Cambridge Analytica being busted for his interference with Brexit and other coups of governments in his European tour. And so now that he's out of the picture, the church is now doing the European tour in a different form, using religious freedom. We've already got it in the First Amendment. Why are you pushing religious freedom? Oh, right, the coup. That's why. To destroy the Constitution. And so, yeah, this Left Behind guy is all about cooing America for evangelicals to have their kingdom in America. And Trump's already talking about it, because the Project 2025 guy is from this group too. Heritage Foundation, etc. All your greatest hits originate with this secret committee. The Council at Adam-on-Diamond. Because that's the other part. Adam-on-Diamond is section 116. Yeah, no, Joseph Smith never went there. They made it up 40 years later. And so, back to the Danites. That's why the Logan Temple has the inverted pentagram on the window keystone. Salt Lake Temple was designed to have the inverted pentagram on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple. Don Carlos Jung was the one to sculpt. Is that sculpt if it's metal? The Eagle Gate Forge. The Eagle Gate, now at Temple Square. It was the Ponderosa for Brigham Young, the family estate, and then it moved to Temple Square. And oh look, the inverted pentagram is pointing straight at the Utah Capitol building. Just like the inverted pentagram for the White House. Isn't that interesting? So do you know your American Utah history? Yeah, Brigham Young was dethroned as governor of the territory of Utah when he signed the Articles of Incorporation for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1851 for the state of Deseret. Oh, dear God. Nobody's supposed to know. Shh. It's a coup. Church is so true. Illiterate Jesus is the head of this church, right, President Oaks? And so, yeah, Brigham Young never expected Mexico to secede, especially so quickly. And as a result, the United States was able to take over the land. And so that's why Brigham Young then, immediately the next year, after the secession of Mexico, did his perpetual immigration fund. Human slave trafficking with little kids. And because of polygamy, they got involved. Yay! Sex trafficking too. And child sex trafficking. And so that was to bring the Mormons that he abandoned to the valley. Because it would be kind of awkward if Mexico didn't secede right away and took a couple of decades to secede. Because how would Brigham Young explain himself? We've been in the valley the whole time. You didn't come because you weren't rich and therefore righteous, worthy. But we were there. You could have come and joined us. Yeah, you'd have a hard time explaining it. So it was coincidentally great timing for Mexico to secede so early so that he can then cover it all up and say, okay, we'll help you get to Zion for Jesus. Jesus in the desert. Don't read the words of Matthew 24. No, don't do it. Do they know? Because they're fulfilling every single prophecy of evil. Do they know? Are they just playing games with us? Because that human, he can't self-fulfill the prophecies like the enemy can. You know, he can't give himself his name. He can't give himself his birth on the very day and hour and in the very locations where he's supposed to be born, live, and then move to. He's not in charge of that. There's no way any human can self-fulfill prophecy, therefore it can't be true. But we as the enemy are true because we self-fulfilled it. Exactly. And so, yeah, Satan's doctrine is taught within the temple. Thus, Albert Pike, the doctrine of Lucifer will rise up after the millennium. That's the whole point of the Danites, is they're the religious part. Rise up with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the full glory of Lucifer. And so, yes, the videos I've done indicate that they're planning for, after Armageddon, to reintroduce themselves as Lucifer, with a mass extermination of mankind all over the earth. The Light Bearer Church. So all of this is happening. And so, scousins for the Left Behind Council. Naked communist guy. George Albert Smith. Idaho Czech, you forgot to remind me. Staying alive, staying alive. People say you're breaking and everybody's shaking and staying alive. So this was after World War II, when he came out to only his ward, and the one member who was a child then remembered it and wrote it down, talking about how he was saying that the latter day Armageddon, the day that shall burn as an oven, would be a nuclear attack, and would be after a presidential election, before the installment on January 20th. Failed. So please tell me you're not going to 2028. And if you are, Oaks, hurry up and fall. Transfer it to me so I can save Mormons' lives. The more time we have before the Armageddon thing, the safer it will be for Mormons. It's just, oh my God! So, this is the whole plot. This is why the church lies about church history. This is what they're covering up and hiding. Brigham Young, after 1838, getting Joseph Smith locked up in Liberty Jail, was still secretly calling himself the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He forged licenses for him, Willard Richards, Wilford Woodruff, and George Albert Smith to flee the country to Europe with forged licenses with the wrong name of the church. So when Joseph Smith eventually got back to Nauvoo after getting out of Liberty Jail, he was noticing that there were priesthood holders with licenses with the wrong name of the church. His visionary account would eventually be published in the Times and Seasons in 1842 with the Church of the Latter-day Saints. He did not have Jesus in it. And for Mormons to just play dumb and believe whatever is currently written as canon. See, Travis, don't lie to me about the Joseph Smith papers, the original source documents that the church put up. That's not authorized. That's the authorized source of all things Joseph Smith. God. Are you really stupid? Or are you just playing games? So there you have it. Nixon's campaign would be when the GOP finally fell. Even though it was the McCarthy who flipped the scripts, the official takeover. Nixon campaign with his campaign button of 72 for Indianapolis, campaign in Indianapolis. It says IN. I'm assuming Indianapolis, 72, when the campaign button had the inverted pentagrams on the elephant. The Illuminati is here in the GOP. So MAGA, Make America Great Britain Again. Restoring everything to its original glory that we caused the revolution for. And this year being the 250th anniversary, this was supposed to be the year when the United States rises from the ashes of the 2020 plot. Oaks, you naughty boy. Because Oaks, in his leak, that we didn't find out about until November of 2024, said that they were instead choosing to run a test run in 2020 rather than actually follow through with their 200-year-old plot. And so this is why I've been going over the Book of Mormon, because it warns us with the very year of it happening. 3 Nephi chapter 7. It's not literal history. It's coded communications of the coup plot of America, as the Danites told Thomas B. Marsh we're eventually going to overthrow the United States and ultimately the entire world. Joseph Fielding Smith Sr., the son of Hiram Smith, is told the coding of these Danites for the coup plot. So he's clueless about the actual coup. He only knows Jesus. Oh, okay, Jesus is going to receive the keys of government from the United States of America, aka Lucifer, at Adam-on-Diamond. And so he should have known that that's still a coup, even though you're framing and blaming Jesus for it, as Joseph Smith's 1838 second vision said it would be. That those evil disposed and designing militant Danites of verse 1 are going to cause the burning in the second vision, the added part to Malachi. They that come shall burn you, and frame and blame Jesus. Because if you're going to assume that it's Jesus telling Malachi this to tell Joseph, which is not Malachi, it's Nephi, not Moroni. If the name of the church ain't right, neither is Moroni. Nephi. There's a reason, because Joseph Smith is giving you additional prophecies for this one human to all fulfill. New name Nephi. In the Los Angeles Temple of Angels. Did they know? Or are they just playing games with us? And so, verse 1. Now behold, I will show unto you that they did not establish a president over the land of the United States of America, but in this same year, yea, the 30th year, 2020. Because the 34th year is when Jesus comes from the clouds of glory on the back of a white horse. Oh, wait, he doesn't need the horse? Yeah, Revelation 19. Remember, the Confederates know. Why don't you know, Mormons? Oaks knows. 2020, because Revelation 19 is 8 April 2024, the third day of darkness of Jesus on the X, with the 2 other X's, 3 solar eclipses over the United States of America. A sign I give unto you. Emmanuel, 23rd September 2017. Sign in Paleo Hebrew is the A on its side and the X. The day and the hour of the coming of the Jewish Christ. A human, No man can know the day or the hour of his coming, let alone all of the prophecies that are involved. He can't self-fulfill all of it. And yet here we are, and Mormons who had the pole position on this the whole time got punked by the enemy. To destroy the federal government. And Justice Roberts, not Oakes, assassinated. So Trump was already upset with Roberts. Roberts had a low countenance at the State of the Union last night, especially when Trump was picking on him. It was the perfect opportunity to destroy the whole federal government and force the states to form their own perfect union, separate from the rest. And it didn't happen, did it? But nonetheless, election fraud. Sure enough, election fraud in 2020. And so despite not telling you of the man like Moses during this time, in this chapter, especially the 116 pages of Joseph Smith Sr., repeats the Exodus pattern over and over and over and over and over again. So that you are supposed to insert that into this. That 2020 is the test room. And the brilliance of Senior to use what the enemy did not know. To even expose Russia's connection in all of this. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem. Brilliant! Brilliant! Incredible. Because, yeah, the sacrifice of Abraham in Utah of Isaac. 8 April 4 CE over Russia. 20 years before 8 April 2024. Thus the Exodus. Ta-da. Brilliant. Brilliant encoding. And I guess I was the only one that was supposed to be able to figure this out, and I did, and I'm telling you, and nobody believes still. Nobody believes. And so, yeah, they were supposed to separate into nation states. It's called tribes here. MAGA states and Antifa states. That's why back in 2020's test run after January 6th, they said Biden is not our president and we want to secede from the nation. Marjorie Taylor Greene blowing her trumpet for Trump. And so this time around for 2025, Trump has been specifically going after sanctuary states and getting the MAGA states to jerry-rig their states to ensure full MAGA for the upcoming midterms, and thus causing other states to turn Antifa blue. California went along with it, and I think a couple others, but it wasn't enough. Trump failed in 2025 for this revision because they didn't realize how brilliant AI would work in projecting the winner rather than a straight count. Right, YouTube? See, I already know what they're up to shut me up and silence me. I exposed it yesterday. They're removing me from being able to complain so that they then can shut me up and I have no one to complain to. And then my videos don't get posted and there's nothing I can do about it. It's coming. They're lying in wait, allowing this to be the new normal. It's the same pattern of practice. Because that's what happens after the destruction. They lay low. They spread out to the next organization. Laying low. And then do it again. Same pattern. You can trace them through this pattern. And so thus why my picture that I happen to have gotten taken at the Bountiful Temple is used in connection with 3 Nephi chapter 11. And nobody's smart enough to figure it out, so I then put in a latest picture version of it, 3 Nephi 11, verses 1 and 2. And still nobody's getting it. I even tell you of the one-on-one with my mom and Irene, and you still aren't getting it. So did we cover everything? We got Oaks, starting if I 7. Yep. So yes, as Joseph Smith said, 19 July 1840, commentary on the verse 51 of his parable in section 101, Utah is going to fall. The temple is going to be destroyed. The church is purposely setting things up to destroy it, and it's still not working. And so they're going to go along as normal, even if they get their kingdom back and get to exercise authority and dominion over you in unrighteousness. Because if you're going to be that stupid and let them take over as the leaders of the world, okay. Just like Trump. Oh, AI made me the president? Okay. So I guess we don't need to kill anybody then. He's still failing. And that's why I told you that Nelson comes out in April conference. We don't know the day and the hour anymore. I've been telling you in the coming day, in the coming days, in the coming day, in the coming days, in the coming day, in the coming days. I don't know the day and the hour anymore. That's an illiteracy, by the way. Oh, no, I have it there. No man knows the day or the hour. That was intended for Oaks, but Nelson also. When you say in the coming day, you know the day and the hour. And that's what led to the leak being found by Oaks through Sister Jessica's mission site. But, yeah, dear God. And so, yeah, they had no intention of doing any more temple announcements and young adult devotionals, as Oaks explained. That was why Trump failed. And so now they're resuming things because, dear God, Trump can't be relied on. And so, yeah, they are slowly, one devotional at a time. And if they can fool members into thinking that there's going to be a temple in Maine, sure. Sure. We'll get them recorded crying, "Oh, church is so true." We'll put Travis in his place. Nobody will believe him now. Nobody's watching my channel, you dumbasses. But yeah, they've got to overly do it with me to make sure nobody finds out that I don't get a breakout video again. But the breakout videos are much smaller than they used to be. So, yeah. This was a perfect opportunity to destroy the federal government of the land in accordance with their plot. And they didn't do it, obviously. But, so all of that initial stuff with the designated survivor, I had it all planned out. It was Mike Thompson, Democrat representative, who was a designated survivor last night. So if it happened, and he wasn't in the proximity of any kind of destructive power, he would be the president right now. And so the MAGA states would say, oh, hell no, we do not accept a Democrat as our president. You know, just like in Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, oh, hell no, we don't accept a female teacher who's equal with men to read a manual to be the president. We want Gaius Baltar, who's Judas, of that Mormon who wrote it, to be our leader instead. So yes, when you understand that they're trying to get things done and they're failing, then you begin to understand why Mitt Romney ran for president in 2012, but he lost. If Mitt Romney had won, yes, the 2016 election would have been a different scenario for the 2020 plot. It would have been his second term, and he most likely would have won. So there wouldn't need to be a Russian interference, as there did need to be, because Obama got his second term. And so with the 2020 election, it would be up to Mitt Romney to step in as the commander-in-chief to establish martial law to go after the insurrectionist terrorists who prevented the president from being elected. And the assassination of his fellow brother, Oakes, as the Chief Justice. Oh, but he was rejected twice. So yes, when you know the plot, you see the big picture in its historical context and how they tried to get certain things in place and it failed. And so they went to plan B, plan C, plan D to get things prepared for 2020. And even 2020 then became a test run as it screwed up their whole time frame. That's why the church wanted the temple finished on April 2024's conference weekend on the 6th and 7th. And they failed. But the man like Moses, he did everything. He did it on time. And yet they are tempting him to do it again. Okay. God, purposely making this harder for me. Hand it over now. God, just stop it. And so yes, I was deeply concerned if something were to happen because of those in attendance. It would have been very sad and tragic. Not for Senator Lee in attendance, but I didn't see Curtis. Where were you, Curtis? And I don't know by face the Mormons in the house. I don't know if they were there, most likely, because that side of the room was packed. But I didn't see Curtis. I know Curtis's face. He's been opposing Trump. Really? Do you not know of your own family history in the War of 1838? And your third great-grandfather's involvement? Did the church not tell you? Do you not understand why you're replacing Mitt Romney? And the church was going to murder him because he failed to win the presidency against Obama. That's the Strengthening Church Members Committee to activate. And so, here's the summary of the State of the Union. That YouTube had commercial interferences with. What the bleeping hell? The President of the United States of America giving a State of the Union address, and YouTube is throwing in commercials to interfere with it. What the bleeping hell? Dear God. If there's ever a time for Trump to go to war against YouTube, it's now. And yes, I narked on you, YouTube. And so Trump is gonna get you. I try. He never listens to me anymore after the oranges of the investigation scandal. So, here's the big thing that I caught yesterday. That Trump laid the trap right at the middle to spring it on the deep state, Dem, Antifa, communist, terrorist, furry, trans, Venezuelan, Cuban, Canadian, Greenland, Gazan, Iranian terrorists. He says, those who agree with what I'm about to say, stand up. And said America is to defend Americans over illegals. And the deep state Antifa fell for it and refused to stand. Gotcha. This has been his whole complaint for why he's been doing his failures in 2025. And he took this State of the Union as an opportunity to again reinforce his reasoning and justification. And so because they did not stand, and only one guy I saw clapping, sitting down. Don't know who he was. And so then Trump comes out and says, we are now going to end sanctuary cities. We are going to save America with a Save America Act with that voter ID requirement. He says Democrats will never be elected again, calling them crazy for wanting to transition teen kids without parent approval. Even with parent approval, what the bleeping hell are you mutilating your kids for? Transitioning is mutilation of the body. What the bleeping hell is wrong with you? Caving to the psychologists who are bullying them, who are from Nazi Germany. Remember the coup plot? This was all set up. And Trump struck. And so now he is now justified in resuming and escalating and calling anyone who defies him as un-American and a terrorist enemy to America. So that if the courts deny him, he can arrest them as illegal terrorists, working with the terrorists. All Dems locked up. It's coming. He will not allow you to ever run or win an election ever again now. He failed. And so now he has to get tough. And so he then says, after they refuse to stand and clap for the ending of wars, they delight in war. You guys are sick people. He said, these people are sick people. And yeah, Bill Maher had a new rules the other week about this, about the State of the Union. So it was just last week, Friday. That Democrats are not able to cheer for what they agree with, just because it's the other side. And Trump set the trap, and they fell for it. And so now his peace through strength will be implemented. I warn, you don't listen. And so yes, give it some time. He's going to lay low, let this be the new normal, and then the news will forget that he said this in the State of the Union, and then he'll strike, and then boom, everybody's going to panic. What is he doing? This is unconstitutional. This is illegal. Oh my God. You're not listening. So yeah, Erica Kirk, I saw her. I miss you, Trump. I miss you. Because you don't say that about your husband. That's not what it's about. Trump is saying it. You're saying I miss you to Trump. You're looking straight at him and saying I miss you. Don't give us that. What the bleeping hell? But I did catch his wording about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. A Mormon is being framed and blamed. Now, I could have trapped you at the beginning of this video because this is the title of the video. That you're now listening to 2 hours later, right? Governor Cox rushed to frame and blame Tyler. Senator Curtis rushed to frame and blame Tyler. Senator Lee rushed to frame and blame Tyler. And then came out later and says, we need a public execution of Tyler. All three of them were getting smoochy, smoochy, cozy, cozy with Erica. Lots of men were. So, again, let me go over it with you, because this is part of the coup. Charlie Kirk at the UVU, 3,000 Mormons in attendance, recording it on their cell phones. The whole world saw the kill shot. So I'm Charlie Kirk, facing out into the courtyard of the school, 3,000. There's a tent overhanging, and the roof just a little above the tent hanging, because I'm sitting a little bit back. The one guy didn't factor in the tent. So, the prosecution comes out and tells us that Charlie Kirk was shot from that direction into the C2 vertebrae out this side. We all saw the kill shot. Yep. And so they said that Tyler Robinson did it. We don't have evidence of a rifle on the Luze building. So I guess the Luze building's over there? Is it? Did you check the map of the UVU? They said it came that way into the C2 vertebrae out this side. Candace Owens saw the camera footage. There's no blood out the back. Yeah. Why would she say that? We all know it came from that direction into the C2 vertebrae out this way. Candace, look at your map of the UVU. The Luze building that they're claiming Tyler Robinson did it, for which he's going to get the death penalty and Lee wants a public execution of, is that way. Huh? So not only should there be a hole in the tent flap, and as the guy who did the trajectory shows how it can't be done that way, according to the C2 vertebrae thing, he's assuming that way. He didn't check the map either. It says it would have to enter into the jaw to get to the C2 vertebrae. Nothing in the jaw. Exactly. And so, yes, Cox, Curtis, Lee, the prosecution, Kash Patel, Trump, Erica, and her employees are all covering up the assassination. The assassin got away. And the Salt Lake Tribune has it on tape. And they're too stupid to know this, because they're too stupid to investigate the church and their crimes. You are our only hope. And you failed on both things. Urgh. Peggy! Peggy! I mean, yes, you're clever enough to get the leaders of the church to say something stupid. But crush them! Crush them! Sarah is new to this. She needs your guidance. Of course, Sarah had to have a special eyes on her by the wife. Even though she was wearing black. Oh my God! Do I have to do everything for everybody? Great googly moogly. So yeah, there you have it. Great googly moogly. So there you have it. The coup plot. So this is where we're at now. So Trump is going to again resume, and he's going to escalate things, and if anybody gets in his way now, he's going to use that as his reasoning for locking up judges again and ignoring judges and getting more violent in the streets, going to more sanctuary states, and possibly Utah now. He's threatened Utah to conform and comply with the AI bill. We need to get rid of it. I have not heard that Utah got rid of it. And so Trump is now also involved with Utah, saying that because the church stole the water from the Great Salt Lake and only donated a portion, not even a double portion, that now Trump is going to fix it, as he said before the State of the Union the other day. And so, yes, Utah's on his mind. Utah, Charlie Kirk, Mormons are involved, and so Trump, yeah. Mormons are assassins. He's setting it up. And that's what the prophets wanted the whole time. That's why the first presidency came out after his election saying, we're going to fund terrorism. We're going to fund illegals. Screw Trump. The Screw Trump letters. Dear God. So yes, we still have to wait, but the church doesn't. And I've shared my concerns that if the church lives in denial and there's no compelling of them to fall and transfer it to me, that you're all doomed. We're all doomed. I don't have much time left because of the trap that they're again springing on me in the coming days, weeks, how long they're waiting to set it on me. And so if this doesn't happen soon for the religious part, I can't help you. My whole 10.2K videos was to warn you of the danger, to save your lives, to expose this church, because I would rather be playing my Civilization 3 or the board game that I created, and the Cleopatra Pyramid, just watching my converted DVDs, living my life all by myself, because that's what I realized my life would be like in high school when they said, none of you will be able to own your own home. Reagan's economics has destroyed the economy. So good luck with your graduation. Going deep into debt to continue your education when you should have just gone straight into the burger flipping job that you were already in. To become a manager at least. So yes, I was thinking I would get a job working for Blockbuster Video, renting out movies to people for the rest of my life on VHS tape, and thus have access to the new releases and be able to obtain them for my collection, even though I didn't know I could obtain them for my collection. I'd just be able to watch them back in the 80s. And then, well, there was, but the technology was still new. You could record from the TV with a VHS recorder, and so Leon recorded the WWE WrestleMania back in those days, and it required 2 tapes rather than the 1 tape, but I was able to watch it as a result of that. And because it was on Sunday, and so I can't go. I have to go to church with Mommy and Daddy. But yeah, he was good enough to record it for me, and I was able to watch it. It was back in the Hulk Hogan days and Andre the Giant days. They were involved in the WrestleMania then. But yeah, that's what I thought my life was going to be like. Alone, without a woman, watching movies, working at Blockbuster Video. And nope. It is not the life that I got to live, because I obtained knowledge by doing research. And I can't in good conscience abandon you guys without at least trying to warn you. Now, if you choose not to listen and you choose to live in denial land and hate me for it and want to murder me, that's your fault. But I have a mission. Had no intention to lead you. So yeah, I'm the perfect guy. Because Zion, yeah, you have no leader. You govern yourselves, and you can't follow the law, you're out. What's the law? Agency. Give life, liberty, and property to others, and they in return will give it to you. You can't abide by that law? Get the hell out. No monetary system of economy, because a monetary system of economy leads to taking away of agency. Real simple. I can fix America too, even with a monetary system of economy. Nobody's going to like it, but it can be done in accordance with the Constitution. So, I have no interest in taking over the world to rule in the millennium. But nonetheless, other people do, and they want to take away your agency and murder you and subject you to their bondage. Right, Oaks? So, let's hope for the signs in the heavens getting fulfilled, because the enemy sucks at getting things fulfilled.